Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa, what do you do when life hits you with tragedy? My guest tonight, Dolapo Agbede, was skyrocketing in her career path when she became blind. She shares tonight about how not only to survive, but how to thrive in the midst of life's worst moment. Tonight on Chim's Talk Africa. Before we do that, please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody.
From Cape Town to Cairo and from Mogadishu to Dakar, this is Chim's Talk Africa. And now here's your host, Chim Onyibilanma.
Hi there, and thank you so much for joining me on this week's episode of the show. You know, I love this interview I'm going to take you into now with Dolapo, and the reason why I love it is this. No matter how hard life's tragedy may hit us, it's never right to throw in the towel. There's always this truth that trusting God can take you from a place of just surviving to a place of thriving, which is what Dolapo's story teaches us. And I want you to capture this as we go into that story. Let's go into that story now. Hi there, and welcome to this segment of the show. Like I said in the introduction, my guest today is Dolapo Agbede. She actually tried to make sure I say the name properly because I am not so good with names. Dolapo, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chim.
It's good to have you. Dolapo, I love your smile. And I want to talk about your journey. You started up with a kind of speed in your career at a very early age. God blessed you with intelligence and put you in a setup where you were flourishing. And then right in the middle of that, what we will call tragedy hit. You lost your sight. Talk about that to us.
Okay, so thank you, Chim. And thank you to the audience. I'm glad to be here. I'm a trained engineer, finished from school, with the aspirations to have an amazing career, ambitious to have an expatriate one, you know. I came into the labor market on the cusp of the telecom infrastructure explosion in my country. So that's the early 2000s in Nigeria. And I had the opportunity to work with a telecom vendor. So we were rolling out the telecom infrastructure, and we were part of making sure that towns and cities across the country were coming on board with telecom service, and it was exciting to be part of that. It was a time when new things were happening. We were learning new technology. We were part of this new movement. I mean, we had Hilux cars, and we entered spaces and transformed those spaces to make sure that there was communication access there. I'm blessed to have been identified for the leadership pipeline in my organization pretty early, within the first year of my working there. So I was taken off the field and more into the office. I began to be a team lead. I had the privilege to lead a major software upgrade migration and was on the pipeline to greater things. My career path was clear as long as I continued to perform. Being a new space, you know, it was good. As long as you were agile, you were performing, there was the reward of bonuses, recognition, more responsibility. So
and the sky was the limit.
I mean, it was exciting. I already knew that once we had done a tangible part of what was going on in Nigeria, it would be a small matter to move into the neighboring countries. We were already designing things and consulting to move across to offer the same services in countries around. We were trained in Europe to deliver services in Africa, across Africa. So, I mean, it was exciting. Then, of course, I started to feel a bit funny, cloudy eyes. I went to my ophthalmologist. He told me what I was comfortable with. But over time, I knew that something was just not right. But eventually, after going around 1, 2, 3 other places, at the night place I went to, not being properly referred, I might also say, I got a final diagnosis. And I will not forget the 10th of August 2007, when I walked out of a certain ophthalmologist expert service that said that not only did I have glaucoma well advanced, it also said that because of the years of the build-up I was at risk of retina detachment in both eyes. So it was for me double whammies. I had never before that day really heard of glaucoma. I'd always used glasses since I was 10, so I was very aware that I was short-sighted. But glaucoma, I didn't know. Retina detachment, what is that? And that started a journey of, I was days, sometimes in my mind's eye, I still see myself in the compound of that eye care organization with complete disbelief. That's why I was holding the paper, and I really felt like everything that I thought life was going to be was flashing before me. But ultimately, it's like, no, this cannot.
Can happen to me.
This cannot be happening. Yeah, it was hard. I would say that the first thing I did was to pray a lot, bind, cast, rejecting the doctor's report. I did everything I knew. I also felt like maybe I had not been as diligent a Christian as I was supposed to have been. So I tightened up my Christianity.
So maybe the bad was happening as a consequence of not being good enough.
Yes.
Okay.
So I did my best to keep as pure thoughts as possible and to believe as much as possible and not to pick fights in fact, I tried to be good. It did not last too long because I was also very impatient. I was like, God, aren't you going to do something? God, aren't you real? God, won't you take this away? And then it was now anger.
Okay.
I look back then, I mean, this was now towards the late 2007, and I was angry that how can this still remain? I've been
So that's why it
was
deteriorating.
Okay, so again, glaucoma, the way it works is because of the pressure on the optic nerve.
Okay.
It is a deteriorative condition that ultimately ends up in blindness. So essentially it's that the optic nerve has been pinched, and then once it's pinched, the message is not going, so the retina is working well, your eye is working well, hopefully the retina is getting the message, it's trying to pass it through the pipe to the brain. But okay, so the message gets to a point, but it doesn't go through past the pinch point. That's what's going on with glaucoma. So everything is working, but the message will just not go through. And it was clear it was going to be degenerative. It was also clear that any intervention that was going to happen would only just arrest the situation where it was. And then subsequently with age anyway, you would still lose the sight. But I was like, no.
And with this no, gradually this must have come as a big blockage to your everyday life.
Definitely.
What changed? What did you suddenly see yourself unable to do?
So for me, after a short stint in the hospital to have immediate intervention to at least arrest the situation to the best of what was available around me, I did go back to the office and I had a conversation with my line manager expecting to be dismissed from work.
Given that now you need your sight for your work,
yes,
they should now ask you to go away. So what did she say?
So he actually asked me if I was not interested in my work because for him, he did not see obstacles. He's a European, French, and maybe in their own environment, disability like a visual degeneration.
It's not the end of your life.
Obstacle. So he kept it simple. Are you not interested in your work because we don't have a replacement for you? And that gave me hope. I remember going to the restroom in the office after that conversation. I'm not sure I chose the cleanest one, and I sat on the floor and I cried. I wept. And I came out of that.
And what were you crying about? What was the emotion you were feeling there?
I was just grateful. I think that was the biggest emotion. The biggest emotion was great gratitude that I could still have this job, this career that
you love.
I'd grown to love, and now that it was even going to be lost, I loved it more. I wanted to hold on to everything that I could. So the fact that yes, I still had an opportunity, which I was not expecting, I wept out of gratitude. There was still some anger, but anyway, I came out of the restroom that day determined to be my very best self, no matter what it was going to take. And from that day, the organization got a very hyper-focused staff in me. And in fact, what were the things that I found difficult to do? I began to find it hard to navigate spaces. I started to find it hard to identify people. So I stopped calling people by name. So little things that my colleagues...
Because you don't know who is in front of you.
I can't see your face. I can't see your face. So, but so I couldn't call people by name anymore. I began to restrict the work, like where I went in the name of work. So by then I'd also grown to become a team lead. And so what I had done was to put structures in place whereby I drove the team that was in the office to make sure we delivered and put a layer between myself and the client. So they went to the client premises to do the client engagement. It was also a good strategy to continue to build talent and pull up others. I was building my successors everywhere I went. But it was also a way for me to manage not needing to be out there myself. So I only went in when there were escalations, but the team was fantastic. You know, we worked very well in a cohesive way. So that way, I mean, they got great things done. I could remain in comfort zone in more stable areas for me. By the time I now got the opportunity to work outside the country, I embraced it because I took it as an opportunity I was not going to really get. I was terrified of how will I cope, because I'd kind of like created structures around me.
You're becoming a bit more familiar with the new
I had not fully
reality.
disclosed. Of course, my HR was aware. Of course, my line manager was aware. But with the way I also worked, so I would arrive very early. So you did not need to see me manage to navigate
trying to find your way around.
And everybody left and I would leave late, and then I would find myself a way around. So I did everything for people not to notice, because I was still waiting for this miracle.
Forgot to do the miracle.
It has to happen. He cannot leave me like this. He gave me these opportunities. He's blessed me with so much.
It's got to bring back your sight.
That this was just a test. This is going to go, you know. And while I was waiting, I was reluctant to confess it. Unlike today, where I comfortably use a cane, I never used the cane because I was like, that would be validating that this is here to
It's like
stay.
you're owning it.
And I was not ready to do so.
It,
And the beauty was, when I went to Ghana, I mean, again, I did manage to put systems around, but you know, in Ghana, I felt freer, because now I was totally with strangers. They accepted who they met. Unlike in my office in Nigeria, you know, my colleagues knew a certain Dolapo, the Dolapo who was very active and who would be part of planning even all the extra things. We'll do CSR stuff, and Dolapo is on top of things. And all of a sudden, and maybe now in hindsight, if they would think about it, now they now had a lot more, a Dolapo that was a lot more quiet, who was wearing darker shade clothes, who was not so willing to do anything that was outside only work, who was coming in earlier and closing late. So you might just have someone around you who somehow their behavior has sort of like changed. There might be more going on than just what you see. So
let me ask you this. So even before you left for Ghana, there are people who knew you a lot more than your work fellows.
Yes.
There was family.
Absolutely.
There are friends.
Yes.
Definitely, those ones will go beyond the ones in the office to start to observe this new Dolapo that doesn't have the capacity to do many of the things he used to do before. And they will ask questions. How did you navigate that, and how did they navigate that?
I would like, you know, this is an opportunity for me to say thank you so much to my family and friends, because, you know, when something unusual is happening with you, and especially when the reports give you it's bleak. I mean, it's blind. Everything ended in blindness. I mean, they didn't even have anything else to say. So you can imagine, of course, I ran to my family and told them what was happening. And glaucoma is not the kind of, it does not give you symptoms, you know. So it's a silent thief of sight. That's what they call it.
Silent thief of sight.
Yes. So I went to them, and I mean, to look at me, if you are not aware that...
nobody would think you think she has a perfect sight. She's just using glasses.
She's hiding behind the glasses and everything. But you know, the truth of the matter was, because it's not visible, it's a bit difficult for people who are not also expecting you at your young age. How can you say you have glaucoma? This is for old people. You know, are you sure the doctors are saying the right thing? Are you sure the diagnosis is not just to make some money or whatever? So there was a lot of, and then there were the more spiritual ones that were like, don't confess it, no, and everything. So, and you can imagine that going to work, I was the very professional, very engaged, very performance-driven Dolapo. But when I came back home in the evenings, by the way, by then I'd actually moved out of home. I was financially independent, and I was living by myself to be closer to work.
That must have
because of
helped you through this situation.
I really believe that my times of solitude, I say that I had my Jacob moments. Because those nights I went back home and I was bitter and angry. And you know, when I read about Jacob wrestling with the angel till dawn, I did a lot of that.
Wrestling.
You know, not just wanting to accept, but you know, with my family and friends, all my anger, my frustration, I poured it there. I was not I was not reasonable. I just wanted help on my own terms. If you are not going to give me on my own terms, it became a huge dramatic blowout. But over time, they have learned to embrace this Dolapo, who is still doing great things, who has accepted this assignment to shed light on this on this thing and just to help people embrace transitions. And last year, the support has been so overwhelming to the point that for the very first time, my siblings celebrated International Disability Day with me. That's just to tell you how, as a family, my entire support system embraces this journey I'm on, doing the Lord's work, helping people come to a place of peace. You know, so there's the loss, yes, there's grief, there's acceptance of of so many things that are possible, because, you know, even as I am right now, there's so many things I can do that I will never exhaust. Let's leave the part of the sight alone. There's still so much that can be done that I would never in my lifetime exhaust. And then I've learned to be creative with the things that I do.
Let's go to your own journey of coming to acceptance. How did that happen? How were you able to go from all that you spoke to us here now, where you wrestled and bitter, and, you know, how did you come to that?
So the Lord took me away. I think it's as simple as that. The Lord took me on a sojourn to a faraway land. That's how it would have been written.
So it happened in Ghana, during the time in Ghana?
It happened, building my inner peace happened for me in Ghana. Because now I was away from everything that was familiar. I was already a performer. That was not in doubt. So when I arrived in Ghana, I was performing on my work, but I was in a new space, and I did not have the pressure of people needing us to run around to get back to the old Dolapo.
So the pressure of be who you used to be was not there.
Was not there.
Because these people didn't know who you used to be.
They just accepted me fully as I am. You know, so based on that, I could begin to appreciate life. Honestly, you know, sometimes when you're not ready, you could be almost paralyzed in your pain.
Yeah.
So you can imagine you curled up in your pain, whether you like it or not, and I'm sure every single one of us have experienced this. Sooner or later, your body function takes over. You would need to use the restroom. You would get up. Hunger pangs will show up. So this is not about you and your feelings anymore. It's your body functions kicking in and bringing the humanity in you back. Whether you're ready for it or not, the sun will set and rise the next day. Sooner or later, you would, as long as you're not in a fully depressed, suicidal mode. And meanwhile, suicide did cross my mind in the early days, because I really could not. And those were the days before my line manager told me I could continue to work. So because for me, I couldn't just imagine being led around and I wouldn't have a job, and this bright future I thought I had was going to be totally gone. But once that part was stable, my suicidal thoughts left.
Isn't that so important for us as human beings to know that we are productive?
Yes.
And I think it's something we sometimes determine for others, we for ourselves and others, that because of this experience I've gone through, because of this thing I don't have, because of this thing I've lost. Maybe you lost somebody, you lost a relation, or you lost a function, or something terrible happened to you. Then you put a box and say, because I'm blind, I can't do so and so anymore. Like you were thinking, I can't work in this corporate thing and continue climbing in my career. And we also have society saying that to us. Because you are this, you can't do this.
Only because everybody does not know better. But because of the insight my line manager had, the support and the opportunity of being in a space that rewarded performance, they didn't need me to see. They just needed Dolapo to perform.
Wow.
It was that simple. And whether Dolapo could see while she was performing was not top of mind for the organization, because I also did not make it top of mind. And just to share with the audience that I went on to have 11 more years in my career in that organization. And by the time I was moving on out of it to go fully into doing diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting, I mean, my last role, I was a competence center leader for with oversight functions for engineers, boots on ground for 15 countries in Africa. So, again, as long as you can give value, you will always get value.
There's so much in us, Dolapo, that we don't realize. So we allow an experience or a handicap to define us. Now, let's talk about this in the line of what you're doing now, because what you're doing with some of your businesses and some of the things you do is actually to help people thrive. Tell us about resilience.
Resilium.
Resilium, I'm calling it the wrong name.
No, it's
Resilium fine. Is it's one organization you lead.
Yes.
What do you do there?
So in Resilium, what we do is to work with individuals and support groups to help you move from coping to thriving.
From coping to thriving.
For whatever it is, for you to even reach out for help or for support or for our consultative services, it means you've reached a point where you want more. You already want more. So it's clear that you want to do better than where you are at already. So it's just we take those same tools or those same, everything you're using to cope, and we help you shift the way you look at them to help you to thrive. Sometimes it might involve you reaffirming and reconfirming your strengths. And the fact that, since I come from a telecom background, a lot of the interventions and the opportunities I show people for the careers that are possible for them are tied directly to digital inclusion, like animations or blockchain. And so if you can groom your skills and competencies aligned with your interests in the new technology, the future of work is waiting to hire you. So we help you. And then we also help your support system who, because they love you so much, they need to see that you can thrive. So how do we help them make sure they're supporting you the right way to do so? So with Resilium, we work directly with people, persons who have come into some sort of transition. That's what I choose to call it, because we've had to support people who have had the loss of children before. We've had to support people who had the loss of an ability just like mine. We've had to support people who lost loved ones who transited into disability, but who were still feeling guilty even as at now, even though those people had passed, to help them go past unblocking those griefs that they have not let go of, get them to a place of reassurance that you did your best and God knows best, and so that they are now even open to continue to do what they do. But on the corporate side, my organization, Willway Paradigm, what we do is to give, to help organizations now solve the equity dilemma, because there's a massive push to have equity at work. So some of the conversations I have with organizations under the umbrella of Willway Paradigm is that, everyone is so worried about onboarding or hiring persons with disability, but the best of your workforce, your most brilliant person who's adding the most to the bottom line to the revenue of the organization might be transiting into a disability right now. How do you make sure that this person is aware that in this country of ours, where it's not so popular as yet, and I really believe that will change, that this person realizes that if they disclose what is going on in their health, it does not automatically mean a job loss.
So people actually would continue to hide it, even
because
though
you don't know
they're afraid of losing their jobs.
So you're afraid to disclose.
What do you say to a person? So speak to our viewers, because we're talking about your story and you live this. How do you go from that place of mourning what used to be, because there are things you can't do now anymore, to a place of thriving?
So guys, what I would say is, number one, to realize that nothing happens to you that God was not aware of. So that for me in itself was a pain, but again, it was a comfort. Number two, I've learned to be grateful. I've just learned to be grateful. And I found that in gratitude, I've attracted so much more than I could ever imagine or contrive by myself. So if we focus on what is possible, vis-a-vis mourning over what is gone, you would find that organically you will be able to really come to the place where you'll be able to say, Lord, I thank you. And it will be true. And it will come from the heart with a lot of thanksgiving. And everybody around you will really see that you're not putting out an act, but rather that peace that they say that passes all understanding, that you truly have it, and you would end up inspiring others. I would not say it's easy, but I do assure you that once you get to that point where you put yourself 100% into God's hands, you commit it as you go to bed, you're in his hands. As you wake up, you recommit your day and whatever opportunities he's going to bring to you. You will find that you will live it and you will celebrate it, and others will come to Christ through you.
I'm inspired by the way you look at the future, the way you look at the present, and the way you look at the past. The fact that you can come to a place of looking at the past, even the pains, and say, wow, God has a purpose. And look at the future and say the best is yet to come. Dolapo, what's your last word as we round up? I've been speaking to dear sister Dolapo. I'm going around that circle because I'm trying to make sure I call your surname properly.
So, Chim, my last word, guys, no matter what happens to us, God knows. And we need to trust our Maker. He did not make any mistake. So we need to trust that there's an assignment in it for us. And for our friends and family and support system around us, we need to continue to encourage them by showing them that we would also do our very best and give our best to them. It's okay to get help, but also let's be ready to also give as much help as we can to them. Even if it's just a hug or a reassurance that I am pulling my weight, I am thriving. So I give you permission to be your best too.
Thank you so much. You'll see on the screen information on how you can get in touch with Dolapo's organization. Some of you might need the kind of help that Resilium, is that the name of your organization? Resilium, the kind of support or training that Resilium gives. The information on the screen there. So use them to get in touch, or just use our contacts to send your questions or things like that. Dolapo, thank you so much for being on this show. Thank you for your excitement. Thank you for your enthusiasm for life and your joy. The Lord will continue to make you thrive and expand. This is where we say bye. God bless you. Please like this video and leave a comment below. Let's know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell button and share this video with somebody else.